for something really, really small. So says Christian activist and author Shane Claiborne. And he adds, "It is the small things that change the world." A number of years ago, a disciple named Christian Piatt began publishing a series of books. His first was called Banned Questions About the Bible. And it had a number of quite good questions, like who gets to decide which laws in the Bible are irrefutable, and which are out of date or otherwise ignored, and which are applied only in certain situations. He was an inquisitive child, and he remembers at one point in his church, which was pretty evangelical, getting a Bible thrown at him by the teacher of the class, who was so frustrated because he was always asking questions. Well, I like the format of the book because they draw on a number of mostly younger people interested, some ministers and others interested in Bible questions, and they talk about their response to these various questions. Now, at the end of the book, there's a section, each author was given the responsibility of answering the question, what are 5 things that you would do to change the world? I thought there were some pretty thoughtful answers. Immediately people would say, well, I would like to bring about world peace. Or I'd like to cure all illnesses. Or wouldn't it be great if everybody had abundant food and water? And everyone had a decent place to live. And somebody would invent a chocolate cake that was nourishing and delicious and had 0 calories. And all of these things, of course, are idealistic and so far impossible, but I'm holding out about the chocolate cake. Last week I did talk quite a bit about science and where that's leading us, and recognizing that 400 years ago when Galileo invented or adapted a telescope to look at the heavens, noticed a lot of things about the skies that people before weren't able to see, and he got in serious trouble with the church for talking about the reality of that the earth was not exactly the center of the universe. The same God that endowed us with life has endowed us with sense and reason and intellect, and has not intended that we forgo their use. So let's think about what could we do to make the world a better place. I've been thinking about this for a while. One of the things that I could do is to never harm a child, or to, as far as it's in my power, never let a child be harmed. And part of that is responsibilities that are job-related, because sometimes children are harmed because situations are set up for them to fail. And as we organize our activities for children, to make sure that they're reasonable for the children, and that what we teach them is something that's going to be helpful to them as they grow older. Or even as they can use these things as children struggling with their issues in school and at home. I think everyone should find an instrument to play and a place to sing. For you, that may be a very private place. Maybe that's good for everybody else. But there is a certain joy of being able to produce some kind of music. Well, maybe it's with a Walkman or an iPod or whatever, you know. Maybe it's music that we press a button and plays, but it's music that we have created in some way. I think everyone should find another person that will truly listen to you. And maybe you can be that listening ear for another or others. I think that we need to keep up with people. And many people will not take the initiative to send a card or pick up the phone or send a text to see how you're doing. And those who do take the initiative will be rewarded. And my fifth thing was, don't let the fact that you can't live perfectly keep you from trying to follow Jesus with enthusiasm. What comes to mind for you? You have a whole page of notes on your bulletin. You can write all these things down. Jesus said the kingdom of heaven is like a mustard seed that someone took and sowed in his field. It is the smallest of the seeds, but when it has grown, it is the greatest of shrubs, and even becomes a tree, so that the birds of the air come and make nest in its branches. And he told them another parable. The kingdom of heaven is like yeast that a woman took and mixed in with 3 measures of flour until it was all leavened. Jesus liked to use a lot of imagery that was close to people's lives. You know, this is a little stretch to say the mustard seed is the smallest of seeds. Well, it really isn't. And a mustard that I've seen growing wasn't the largest of bushes, but it is a lot bigger than the seed. And people understood that. They knew that mustard seeds were pretty tiny and that mustard bushes were big, but part of the reason that mustard bushes were big in Jesus' day was they were seen as a weed, and they got in the way with other crops that you were trying to harvest. This was before French's mustard was invented, obviously. But that's a story that people could identify with immediately. How something tiny can be something large. Now, 3 measures of flour is a huge amount of flour. It's something like a bakery would use. But just a little bit of yeast, just a really small amount of yeast mixed in with that flour will make it possible for that bread to rise. The kingdom of heaven is like something tiny that becomes something big. It is like something amazingly small that changes everything that it's mixed in with. The authors in Christian Piet's book wrote a lot of different things about what they would do to change the world, to make it a better place. But most of them, I saw some similarities. Like Gandhi said, be the change you want to see in the world. A lot of them said, simplify your life. Reduce your consumption. Know where the things that you buy come from. Do you ever think it's a Christian responsibility to know who made the shirt, the blouse, the socks that you're buying at a store? Because unfortunately in many places in the world, people are locked in rooms to produce goods. Children are involved at working at some loom or something like that. We need to know where our stuff is coming from and whether or not it is produced by slave conditions. Several people commented that we ought to get out of our comfort zone. Read a book on a subject you know nothing about. Volunteer volunteer. Learn about a different culture. Give away more of your time and money. Build a relationship with a person from a generation different than your own. Some said, seek silence and listen for what God might be urging you to do. And when you find out, find some people who are willing to hold you accountable to move closer to God. Some said, each day you will encounter someone discouraged, sad, afraid, in pain. Be encouraging and uplifting. Practice hospitality. Follow up with people in need or in crisis. Smile. The next time you get an annoying call or you're frustrated at the grocery store, ask yourself, why am I taking my temporary anger or frustration out on some hapless bystander? Treat yourself and everyone you meet as an image of God. Abraham Herschel said, there is no proof of God, only witnesses. How we act away from this place reflects on this place. And finally, be humble in your view of God in the Bible. In fact, it wouldn't hurt to be humble about everything else too. My wife and I are members of a church in northeast Oklahoma, South Grand Lake in Langley, Oklahoma. It's made up of a lot of retired people like we are, or people who have moved to the lake from somewhere else, or weekenders. And from time to time, we get a lot of visitors of families of people that live at the lake. Over the years, I got to know the 5 daughters of the Bill Him family. One Sunday, one of those daughters spoke in worship. Her name is Cindy Him, and she told an amazing story about the transformation of Eugene Field Elementary School in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Cindy was a principal in an average school. And one summer day, early in the summer, she got a call that she was being transferred to Eugene Field. Eugene Field was one of those failing schools. The test scores were terrible. The school was dirty. The staff morale was awful. The poverty rate of the students was almost 100%. There was not much parent support for anything at the school. So she went feeling like God is leading me to do something. And over the next few years, Cindy had an amazing struggle. It was terribly difficult. But she began her principalship by recognizing that this school can be excellent. And by treating everybody with kindness. Those are 2 pretty simple things to do. Not easy to do, but simple. And as a year or 2 unfolded, things began to change fundamentally in the school. And this worn out old building was cleaned up. Staff made some changes, but the morale became top-notch. The test scores went up like a skyrocket. And it was Cindy's ability to be a person that would let God use her in a difficult situation that made the difference. But it was just little stuff that she did every day, how she treated the children and made sure they were all cared for, how she encouraged the faculty, and how she worked with the parents and treated them all as individuals and people of worth. I kind of saw in Cindy the parable of the mustard seed, how God works with just small things, and suddenly something dramatic has happened. A new school building was built. The community rallied around. They created a garden, a clothing bank, just one thing after another that are possibilities for schools. In more affluent neighborhoods, this school had too. There's always pockets of justice and mercy. And hope kind of ripples out from our acts of kindness and love. One life can change another, and that matters. Just think small as a beginning. I read a story, I've kind of forgotten some of the details, it's a number of years ago, about a man who was a runner. He got up to running half marathons. And it started one day when he realized that he was spending way too much time on his couch and he needed to get in better shape. So he went to his front door and he ran as far as he could, which was to the sidewalk. And he was out of breath and his chest was tight. And so he returned to his house. And then the next day, he ran to his neighbor's house. And then he was running down to the end of the block. And then it was several blocks. And over a period of time, he made small improvements so that he was beginning to be a real runner. It all started from his couch, from repose. William Gibson, the novelist who gave us the term cyberspace, said, "The future is already here, it's just not evenly distributed." I believe that God's presence and influence is here in subtle and glorious ways. You know, every one of us has the rest of our lives to work this out. And we will start in a minute or two by getting up from our pew.